This segment focuses upon biofield research that was performed in the past, almost 100 years ago to be precise. You'll be learning about what I believe to be the most significant research ever performed, and it was almost totally ignored. This is one of my favorite messages because research in the current setting can have a reputation for having outcome dishonesty within the scientific community. This can occur when the research project is being funded and controlled by a big industry group that only publishes their research when the outcome seems to favor the party that financed it. But they will bury the research outcome when it goes against their financial benefits. To our way of thinking, research outcomes should always be shared honestly and without hesitation, no matter who paid for it or what the outcome was. I'm happy to say that the research I'm going to present to you is performed honestly and with integrity. But not only that, this research also had amazing outcomes that only demonstrate the importance of the work that we promote here at Biofield Testing. There have been many research scientists who have helped to contribute to the foundations of biofield testing. But my personal favorite research story involves a highly esteemed professor at Yale University School of Medicine. His name was Dr. Saxon Burr. He wrote a book in the 1930s based on his extraordinary research on biological energy fields. He even named them. He called them the L fields or the fields of life. In his book, The Blueprint for Immortality, Dr. Burr wrote, quote, "The L field is not an accident nor chaos. It is organized and maintained by an electrodynamic field capable of predetermining the position and movement of all charged particles. For nearly half a century, the logical consequence of this theory has been subjected to rigorous, controlled conditions and has met with no contradictions." Dr. Burr believed that since measurement of L field voltages can reveal physical and mental conditions, doctors should be able to use them to diagnose illness before symptoms even develop, and in doing so, would have a better chance of a successful treatment. This is an important concept related to our intention of morphogenic field technique and biofield testing, which is to ask the body what it needs that it does not have and what toxins it wants to get rid of. MFT's original goal when we began 15 years ago was communication with what we titled the morphogenic field, or M field, and what modern researchers have since called the biofield. In our work, we also have the ideal of opening someone's mind to the possibility of addressing the body's needs and desires even before problems develop. In other words, we want to find things before they actually become things. Dr. Burr used his theory to examine the electrical properties of a rodent species who were known to be susceptible to ovarian cancer. To determine if the voltage measurements would change in the early stages of cancer tissue growth, he had a way of visualizing the field by using a low voltage current. In his work, he found that the largest electromagnetic field in rodents existed around the head of the animal, and that the smallest electromagnetic field emanated from the tail of the animal. During his rodent study, Dr. Burr worked with a specific species of mice that had a known genetic predisposition to develop ovarian cancer. He observed that in his L field analysis, he could visualize a distortion over the ovaries in a certain percentage of rodents, but not all of them. In other words, he observed two groups of the same species. One group had the field distortion, while the other group did not have a field distortion over the ovaries. He studied these rodents over time, and what he found was that the group that had the distortion eventually developed ovarian cancer, and the group that did not have the field distortion never developed ovarian cancer. It was concluded that a variable for developing ovarian cancer in these rodents was the pre-existing distorted field around the rodent. I found this correlation to be groundbreaking. I have a few personal comments I'd like to make around Dr. Burr's work. Number one, I want to honor Dr. Burr for his work in the L fields and his level of commitment to follow the science wherever it took him. I'm pretty sure that he was not fully supported by his colleagues once the findings were published. Based upon my own experience in working with ideas that go against established thinking, I know that at his core, Dr. Burr was a brave and honest researcher. Number 2, at Yale, Dr. Burr was a highly honored professor at one of the most prestigious medical schools in the world. When groundbreaking findings like these are shoved aside and forgotten even with his credentials, it tells me how difficult it is to make a real change in the profit-driven healthcare system that exists in this country. Number 3, when Albert Einstein made the statement, "The field is the thing," he was on the same page as Dr. Burr. In my biofield testing world, we have many ways of stating the same beliefs that were common back in the 1930s, but were lost along the way. Our slogans, "Follow the Energy" and "Nofieldnoheal," reflect our beliefs about energy field concepts. Whatever you may call them, fields represent the true nature of what real healing can look like. My personal clinical experience has led me to the conclusion that overall we as a society are suppressed in our knowledge about what can be possible in the arena of healthcare. Everyone should be aware of the innate influence of the biofield in our health maintenance.